Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah, it's Warroyd here, and just wanted to make a really quick video on the new changes, the nerf to intervene that just came out. So it's a pretty substantial change. They'll be nerfing intervene, which is currently at 6 seconds, to 3 seconds, I believe. 3 seconds actually has a pretty considerable impact, and we're going to talk about it in this video. I think the first thing to consider is that, I've been saying that they're probably going to intervene, like nerf this by half. If you go back to videos from like February, March, I felt like they were always going to nerf intervene. And with the removal of Overwatch, I feel like Blizzard's kind of, they introduced intervene back into the game as a new spell that we used to have, and then didn't really understand the implications of how good this ability is. However, at 3 seconds, it is still really good, but it's probably closer to how you'd use like a fade. You'd actually really need to nail the intervene timing. And you might start to use it more as a gap closer because the actual damage mitigation might not be so important. The other thing that's pretty substantial is that a lot of melee cleaves like Turbo, Ret Warrior, pretty much every single melee cleave for Warrior, use intervene parry, which makes you immune to pretty much all melee damage, as a almost like a bop, like a bubble, that you can trade really early on, because parry with the conduit has a very, very small cooldown, right? It's 1.5 minutes. And because you intervene them, all the damage that's going out to your second target is getting parried by you, and obviously any damage going to you is getting parried. However, it's one of those things where, because Warriors right now are so dominant in literally every comp, like you go to any top tier comp and like majority of the times the melee DPS that's in there would work or be better with a Warrior instead of it. So like if you think about Windwalker DH, I mean Warrior DH works really well, Warrior Windwalker works really well. Similar thing to like Turbo, like Windwalker enhancement's actually really good. So, I mean, it doesn't really hold true there, but a lot of things there with intervene, like the intervene adds so much value to a lot of classes that don't normally have quite a good defensive kit. I still think there's some comps that actually won't be affected too much by this. For instance, things like TSG, in my opinion, DKs have an excellent defensive kit, and when played properly, you don't usually go the DK. When played properly, a DK really doesn't need intervene. It's more like you could use intervene to peel them off. Obviously, there's instances where it's going to be good to intervene, but it's not like you completely lose the ability. I think the other thing is RMP. Right now, like Kyrian Warrior literally just counters RMP. Like every aspect of Kyrian Warrior is like built to destroy RMP. You have War Banner, Big Rally, Disarm, Intervene, Fear, Berserker Rage, the Fear, like their Fear. Like you can stop so many goes. And I think nerfing the Intervene by 3 seconds actually means that if you land a kidney shot, and usually the Warrior will intervene straight away, or like cheap shot, the Warrior intervenes straight away, that's not going to be that important. It's going to be 3 seconds of that go, so you're still getting half of your value in the go there if you aren't able to cross the Warrior. The other really, really important thing is that when you intervene in RMP or against Mage or Warlock or pretty much any comp that has spammable CC, apart from like Druid Cyclone, a lot of the times you're intervening and it makes you unpeelable with polys. Like you can just put yourself in poly DR if you intervene, and then it breaks, and it breaks multiple times if they're just bad and spamming poly into you. Usually they'll pick it up after the first one, but you still just avoid that 8-second DR, or you get put on DR straight away. It might be a bit harder to do, or you might be focusing more on doing it when you have a shorter, like when intervene isn't just like a bubble for your team. Obviously, like I don't want Warrior to be nerfed and bad. Like we will experience that in Season 4, BFA, and other expansions, parts of other expansions and patches. However, like honestly, the dominance of Warrior is a bit too insane right now, and I think intervene, taking some value from intervene so that you don't just have insane damage control and defensive kit, is not a bad change. I was actually expecting a bigger change to this. Like, I thought it might just be the next attack, and they were just going to gut the entire ability. But they still have left 3 seconds, and 3 seconds can do a lot. Like, if you intervene when your like DPS is at like 40%, 30% against another warrior, it means that he can't get his executes off. It's still valuable, but it is a pretty substantial difference to what it used to be. I think this will also impact the viability of certain comps like Warrior SP, where you really want that 6-second intervene to give your caster, the ability to rotate a little bit better. It's sort of the trade-off that Warriors had, like when you consider like like RPS versus WPS. Like WPS has intervene and a bit more like front-loaded damage, whereas RPS has like the kidney shot, and intervene sort of match the kidney shot because it would soak all the damage and peel it. Like, it would kind of be a balancing act because warriors don't have like a 6-second stun. Still something that I think is still really good. Honestly, I was surprised that this was the only nerf to warrior. I was actually expecting more nerfs. So ultimately, I think warrior is still insanely viable. Like, it's not like this is going to really change a huge amount. It might change the composition of like certain comps that rely on intervene. I think this is a pretty big nerf to stuff like turbo. Specifically the fact that you can intervene your enhancement and he becomes unpeelable, like in an aggressive sense, and in a defensive sense, obviously, it's still pretty good. But honestly, like, a lot of people were wasting intervene and still winning games. So if you think about it like that, like, it's still a nerf, but it's not like the bottom line and the value of warriors that diminished. I think people are just going to be smarter they have to be smarter with how they intervene. You can't just throw it like 5 seconds before the go and then still get some value out of it. You're really going to have to wait till the go starts, really make use of it, make sure your DPS, also consider the fact that it's 3 seconds and work around that. So like, if you're crossing fade and intervene every game, you need to really get clean on that so you have full value, because you can't just cover somebody with intervene the whole time and expect to win. I think this will be a general improvement to the game. I don't think the playstyle where warriors intervene every go is good, especially because warriors are very hard to peel off and take out of a go, because they've got reflect, blade storm, every single button in the fucking game to stop that from happening. So a lot of the times, like, if you're playing any other class or even as a warrior in a less viable comp to another warrior cleave, you just intervene is the most annoying thing in the world. So overall, I think this is probably a good change. It is a pretty substantial nerf, but if this is all we have to trade off, I mean, if we get like dicked on a whole bunch of other defenses as well, like ignore pain and some damage, it's going to not be looking too good. But I think just intervene so far is fine, considering how dominant warriors are in literally every comp. It kind of makes sense that things have to go. All right, guys, hope this little video was useful for you guys. I think it was bound to happen. Everyone knew this was going to happen. So I think even with the removal of Overwatch, like, you saw Blizzard sort of wanting to kind of take value out of intervene, especially with this cooldown. I might have actually preferred something that had like a 45-second cooldown and still kept 6 seconds or 5 seconds rather than the 30 and 3. But it is what it is, and everyone will deal with it. There's no point really complaining too much. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the vid. Take it easy.